Hey everyone, Dustin here. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Alright, so we were able to get these Del Sol wheels cleaned up and looking pretty decent on the face. That way when we take them to the tire shop, we're just not taking in a mess for the tire guy to deal with. Pretty much in order to get them clean, I just use some good old-fashioned soap and water, some engine degreaser, and some Purple Power, which is another type of spray degreaser. And then I use this 3M red Scotch-Brite pad, which is basically like an abrasive sanding pad to scrub the grease off of them. And I also use terry cloth towel and a scrub brush. But if we flip these things over and look in the inside of them, already started to clean this one a little, but we can see that these things are pretty greasy on the inside. Oops, I'm gonna sand those anyways. That's a result of driving around with a bad CV axle and that grease just spraying everywhere. So pretty much we're just gonna spray these with some degreaser, scrub them out the best we can. They really don't have to be perfect, you just wanna clean them up, and yeah, we'll call it good. So this can of degreaser's history. Now we're just gonna let it sit, wait, come back, scrub it, maybe spray some degreaser on it, and get this grease off. Alright, so this degreaser is definitely a little bit on the acidic side, can cause some burns to your hand, so I'm gonna go put on some gloves for this step. So we got the inside of these wheels cleaned up halfway decent. They're not perfect, and I'm not looking for perfect. We'll do them a lot better in the future. Main thing is just trying to get these things cleaned up. I think to get them any cleaner, we'd really need to use some abrasive, like sandpaper or something. But they're good for now, so we're gonna get them flipped over and clean the faces off again and call them good. Alright, so I got this bodywork cart all kind of put back together. Got it, my sandpaper up here, sanding disc, spreaders, body filler, different sanding paper, sanders, DAs, blocks, roll-lock discs, just an assortment of things here. Kind of puts everything on one cart, so when you're going to do body work, you have everything right then and there. And then having everything kind of out in the open like this really allows you to just kind of inventory everything. And if you see you're getting low on 220 grit, then you just have a visual inventory at all times. So also here we got this 97 bumper cleaned up. If you take a closer look at it, we definitely have a little bit more cracks than I originally noticed upon my initial inspection. So we're going to address those cracks now, because if we don't get rid of those cracks in the primer, they're just going to come back. We're never going to be able to get rid of, we're never going to be able to get rid of them unless we actually sand them all out. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take some 80 grit on this DA here, which is kind of a more of an I'm going to take some 80 grit on this DA here, and we're going to dig those cracks out. Day 2, sanding on the bumper. I'll put that in focus, and we're gonna do it a little different than we were doing it yesterday. So I switched this DA over to a hook and loop pad, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this foam interface pad on that, other way, like so. And then I just went down to my local Harbor Freight and I picked up some of these hook and loop Hercules sanding disc 60 grit for $5.99 for a 5-pack, and we're going to put that on there. And so kind of the reason I'm sanding this bumper like that is when you use this interface pad, it kind of makes it so the DA has a little bit give, so when you're sanding on some of these round bumper surfaces, you're not flattening them out, and that little give is going to make it to where the bumper keeps its shape. 60 grit's a pretty aggressive sanding grit, but we're going to do that in order to try to strip some of this primer off. I'll start by sanding it, and then because it's really dusty in here when I sand it, we'll come back after I've been working on it for a while. Also, I got some protection today. Got my dust mask. When I was sanding this bumper yesterday, definitely was breathing a little dust, and I shouldn't have been doing that, so we got this today. All right, here we go. Okay, so after about an hour or so of sanding, managed to get maybe, I don't know, what do you call it, about a third? Let's see, come over to the other side here. Yeah, maybe about a third of the bumper stripped down to bare plastic. I'm gonna continue sanding on this thing throughout the week. I'm gonna remove all this body filler from the recess the reflector that I shaved out. And instead of just making a boring video where I'm just sanding and sanding and sanding, we'll just bring an update on this at some point in time and kind of carry you through the steps involved with what we do here. But I definitely need to get some more materials. So it's, as you kind of saw in this episode, I think we're not going to focus on one thing at a time. We're just going to do a little here, a little there. And yeah, that way the content isn't boring. So Harbor Freight sandpaper in general in the past, it's not very good. If you just need to get a job done, it'll get it done, but not that, it burns out really fast and it's just not good quality paper. So now this Hercules paper that I tried out today, 4 times the life, double the speed, it's good stuff for about $1 a sheet. So I got all this bumper sanded, and I still have only used one piece of paper. You see it here, still has a lot of life left to it. It has these holes in it, so it actually clears out really nicely. This is good stuff. I'm gonna keep buying this stuff. It's quality paper. I think I'm gonna be able to get most of this bumper sanded out with one piece of sandpaper. We'll see. All right, so that wraps it up for today's episode. Next week, I'll give you a progress report on this. Maybe we'll do a little bit more work on it. And this piece is gonna come into play next week because we're gonna get it re-cleared so that way we can mold it. All right, I'll catch you in the next one.